Good evening, parents of poetry students. My name is Liam Henley and I will be the poetry yearhead for this academic year. The Belvedere College we have returned to is a very similar place to the Belvedere that we all left at the end of May, and we need to continue to be fully aware of and fully on board with the COVID safety precautions. Please watch the DES induction video with your son if you have not already done so, and continue to stress to him the importance of wearing a face covering properly, hand washing, respiratory hygiene and cough etiquette, and of course social distancing. My role as yearhead is primarily that of cura personalis, care of the individual. I'll be working in conjunction with the other 5 form tutors, as I will also be a form tutor myself this year. The role is a combination of pastoral and discipline. Our primary objective is to ensure that every student can develop and achieve their potential within an atmosphere of mutual respect where all the students feel safe and cared for. My motto is to be open, honest, fair and approachable at all times. In relation to the school day, classrooms will be open for poetry students from 8 a.m. Form tutor period is at 8:40. Their break time is at 10:45 and the designated area for poetry is in their base classrooms. They are allowed to eat in the classrooms during this time and this time only. Their designated toilets are in the yard or the courtyard and the mask must be worn. Poetry will be on the first lunch break, which is at 12:15, along with first and third years. There will be a grab and go lunch provision by Baxter Story in the O'Reilly Theatre. They will enter the O'Reilly Theatre on the right hand side, grab food and then leave through the opposite doors. The breakout area for poetry students is in the yard and the running track on the roof of the Kerr building, which is accessed via stairs nearest the PE hall. So it's all about getting it right from the beginning, and 5th year is a very academic year. Predicted grades are now part of our world. 5th year students need to hit the ground running, and teachers will be documenting results and building a portfolio of students' progress in case the class of 2023 do have predicted grades. There is no substitute for hard work, and the sooner your son builds good habits around work and study, the better. In relation to subject choices, it's important that students make any changes where they happen to be possible, class size permitting, in the next few days. For the core subjects, the levels are important for Maths, Irish, English and French. There will be a common assessment at Halloween in Maths and English for higher level. It's so important that your son gets organised for a busy term. This is the longest term at just over 8 weeks long. He should aim to be in school each day at 8:20 because it allows for something to go wrong and still make it in on time. It also allows your son to get himself organised for the day ahead, to review his homework and get some last minute revision in. There will be some leniency for the first couple of weeks back in relation to lates, but students who are repeatedly late will receive early morning detention at 8 a.m. with myself. In relation to iPads, students should all still have their iPads from first year. Parents who took out insurance at the time of purchase, so any damaged devices can be replaced through the gadget insurance cover. Every student has a college Office 365 account which they can access on their iPad, so it's necessary that they have their devices through COVID for Outlook Mail and Teams and OneNote in particular. All the devices are supported by IT in terms of being added to the college Wi-Fi, problem solving, and also all students have access to Wriggle through support@wrigglelearning.ie. If any student does not have an iPad, they should contact Wriggle on 01 500 9060 to place an order. In relation to active learning, this is a really important part of being in class. Homework in the evening is study and preparation for Leaving Cert 2023. When submitting homework to teachers, every effort should be made to have converted pictures of work done into a PDF format. iPads can be used here to scan pictures. There's some excellent content on how to do this and in terms of appropriate communication with teachers electronically on page 10 in the journal. Students should revise by constantly testing themselves, and you as parents can help them here by testing them. Even as 5th years, the use of the journal is paramount. An organised student will have an organised journal. So please ask to see your son's journal and sign it regularly. In relation to student monitoring and tracking, all teachers will be asked to provide October effort grades after the first few weeks of school. Now, these are not sent out home, but form tutors will have the information, and this will be a good time to check in with the form tutor if you have any concerns about your son. A list of underachieving students is compiled in November, and some students may be placed on academic monitoring. In relation to the Christmas results and comments, this will be a formal report, and it's important that students review the paper in detail and focus on what they didn't know, and they include that in their revision plan and they retest themselves. The parent-teacher meeting for poetry is on the 1st of March, it's a Tuesday of 2022, and then in the summer there'll be another formal report which will be reviewed in their rhetoric year. In terms of co-curricular, it's just so important for the students to try and stay as involved in co-curricular as possible. Evidence has shown us that our busiest students have also been our most successful students. Rugby will continue as it has been over the summer, drama and the various music components will also continue, and VDP will continue. And any co-curricular activity that we can put back on, we will. In relation to behaviour, conduct and sanctions, the journal is the first port of call here again. I would ask you to read the Code of Behaviour with your son on page 37 and to sign it, and please also review the journal regularly. Notes will now be emailed home, as teachers have been asked not to write in journals at the moment. The Compass app should be used for lates and absences. Compass notes should be used to give permission for your son to leave early, and the earlier that these notes come into us, the better. Please be aware of your son gaining access to your Compass app account and or password. Nobody or no student has the right to disrupt another person's learning. Persistent disruption will result in removal from the class, and you will be informed about this before it happens. In relation to uniform, full uniform to be worn at all times. No hoodies will be permitted at all. Students should be wearing a school jacket or a plain black jacket, black or brown shoes, dark grey trousers, no skinny jeans or pale grey slacks, white shirt, Belvedere College tie and jumper, and if not properly attired, they may be sent home because there will be DPs at the door each morning. In relation to mobile phones, there is a site-wide ban, as you now know, between the moment they step on the campus in the morning until the last bell goes at 3:35. Phones should be switched off and in the student's pocket. If a phone is seen, it will be confiscated, but the student will be given an opportunity to send a quick text home to a parent saying, "My phone has been confiscated," and then it will be returned the next day on a first offence, and it could be a couple of days after a repeat offence. In relation to well-being, parents should contact the school if they have any concerns regarding their son's mood, well-being, or if there is something difficult happening at home that may affect your son's engagement in school. Regular exercise and good diet are so important. A healthy body will equal a healthy mind. The issue of alcohol is something that you need to be honest and firm about with your son. Some members of this year group have already turned 18, and others will turn 18 before the end of the year, and 18th birthday parties will become a serious distraction. In relation to social life, parties and alcohol or substance abuse, talk to a form tutor or yearhead if you have any concerns. Part-time jobs are strongly discouraged by the college. If they are engaging fully in school, then they should not have time for a part-time job, as it can distract them from their studies and co-curricular pursuits. If you're looking for any other information, the website has lots of useful information, specifically the Parents' Handbook. If there is an issue with a teacher, please follow the laid out policy of contacting that teacher directly by email in the first instance. The anti-bullying policy is on page 40, and please make yourself aware of the RSE and SPHE programmes. The only official communication from the college will be through the fortnightly newsletter and emails from staff. And in terms of contacting members of the 5th year team, the form tutor will be the first port of call and the most important port of call most of the time. You've got the Parents' Handbook on the website, and then you've got myself, Liam Henley, as yearhead. My email address is liamhenley@belvederecollege.ie, and my phone number is 01858 6610, and Mr. Tom Doyle is the Link Deputy for 5th year, tdoyle@belvederecollege.ie, and his number will be 01858 6600 to go through to reception and then ask for Mr. Doyle. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the year ahead.
Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to be speaking to you again this year on behalf of the Guidance Department here in Belvedere. My name is Roisin O'Donoghue, and along with my colleague Angela Curran, we will be working closely with your sons this year from a guidance perspective as he transitions into senior cycle. So just as a reminder of the Link Guidance Counsellors, I will be the Link Guidance Counsellor for Finlay, Kenny and Scully. and my colleague Angela is the Link Guidance Counsellor for Loyola, Aylmer and Xavier. So essentially, the fifth year guidance programme builds on the work and the foundations that we have laid with your sons in transition year. In TY, the focus was really on helping students to get to know themselves better and to begin to explore the options that are available to them. This year, we will continue our work of equipping students with the tools to explore the opportunities available when they leave Belvedere College. We'll focus on helping students understand their options and develop their research skills so that they are able to make informed decisions as they move into sixth year. In sixth year then, we shift our focus to decision making, shortlisting and taking action with our applications. So poetry students will have regular guidance classes. They'll have access to online workshops and webinars to help them explore various career sectors, develop essential career skills, and to help them fully understand the CAO process and the alternative pathways that exist for them after they leave Belvedere College. We draw really extensively on the expertise of our past pupils and also our parents to help us in that regard. Students will engage in further career assessment exercises throughout the year, and then they will meet with their guidance counsellor individually to help them make sense of those assessments. One of our flagship events for fifth year is the mock interview evening in the final term. And the mock interview evening is a culmination of preparation and research that students engage in over the course of the year. Students will be expected to prepare a cover letter and a CV. They'll have access to workshops with various professionals and recruitment consultants to help them with that. And they will have conducted their own thorough research before they undertake their mock interview. The mock interviews are designed to be supportive and encouraging, and students always report that despite being nervous beforehand, it's a really worthwhile and beneficial exercise. The mock interviews take place in the evening time to facilitate over 80 professionals who will be our interviewers, and they give up their time after work to interview our students. But they should not be considered optional even though they're happening in the evening. They are an essential part of the poetry guidance programme, and we really do expect all students to engage with the mock interviews. We also support students in terms of their motivation and their academic progress. Each guidance session includes a grade tracking and a goal setting session, which helps students to take accountability for their own learning and their performance. Student tracking is also built into our journal. It's embedded into the fabric of the college in our journal. This Friday, students will be given time to reflect on their most recent set of grades in their core subjects, and then they will set targets that they will work towards over the first term of fifth year. You will see these pages on page 70 and 71 of the journal. We ask students, in conjunction with their subject teachers, to identify 2 very specific things that they can do in each subject to improve their grade. Monitoring individual progress and attainment closely in fifth year and sixth year is a really important exercise in terms of promoting ongoing motivation, but also in terms of helping them to make realistic and informed choices about the possible pathways available to them after school. But we need your support to support your sons. These conversations around academic achievement and decisions for the future need to be happening at home as well as in school if they are to have any impact. Research shows that the most influential voice in terms of student career decisions is that of the parent or guardian, specifically the mother, but the parental voice is really, really important. Please ask your son about his guidance research as the year progresses. Discuss his choices with him. We would ask that you as a parent or guardian sign page 70 and 71 of the journal on Friday evening and discuss his specific subject targets with him. It's important that students see that we are on the same page and that we're working in partnership in terms of supporting his progress and holding him accountable for his work and efforts throughout the year, equally in school and at home. A quick note on studying abroad. So each year, a number of fifth year students begin to express an interest in studying abroad, either in the UK or the USA or across Europe. The process is very involved. The application systems are different. They require personal essays, personal statements, references, predicted grades, and they can really take a significant amount of time and attention. The costs are also significant. So it's really crucial that families have that financial conversation before a student embarks on the process of preparing an application for abroad, just to avoid any disappointment at a later date. So as parents and guardians, you can access up-to-date and relevant guidance information and study skills resources on the guidance section page of the Belvedere website to help you support your son. The link is available on the bottom left-hand side of the screen when you log in, and all important dates will be available there, and the guidance calendar is frequently updated, so it's always current. We will stay in touch with you as well with regular newsletter and email updates to ensure that you have plenty of resources at your fingertips to support your son at home. Lastly, fifth year is a big step for a lot of students. The pace is fast and the schedule can be demanding. As we all know, when we are busy balancing and juggling a range of demands, even a little wobble can feel overwhelming and it can throw us off course. So we would strongly encourage any students to reach out to us as guidance counsellors, the chaplains, their form tutors, if they are feeling overwhelmed with the pace of fifth year. There are supports in place to help the students work through any of their challenges. And we really are looking forward to working closely with your sons this year and with yourselves. Thank you very much.
I hope you're comfortable while you're watching this, and I realise there's a lot to take in, so I'll try and avoid any repetition of what's been said before, but I just want to reiterate a number of points. First, welcome back everybody. It's great to see all the students back in the college. We've been through a very challenging and difficult time, and I want to thank the students particularly for all their cooperation, their enthusiasm and their ability to adapt. And I think that's one of the great things that this has come out of this horrible experience, is that we learned to adapt, and we learned that many of the things we talked about, like resilience, independent learning, the ability to self-manage, actually were thrust upon us without our preparation for it, and we dealt with it. We dealt with it as a team, and I want to thank the support we received also from the parents. Just a couple of points. Please take a time to dip into the newsletter. It is a great showcase for what the students produce, and it reflects a very vibrant community. Encourage your son, if he's not watching this, to also read it, but also perhaps to consider contributing to it. I want to thank everyone who contributes to the parent handbook. It's updated annually, and there's some work going into it at the moment in relation to communications, so it will be ready for downloading soon. But almost every question that you could possibly come up with, because that's what the Parents Association have done, they've taken typical questions and they've put them into the handbook, and they're answered there. So the parent handbook, while children don't come with a handbook, the school does try and actually produce a parent handbook to give you all the answers to the most frequently asked questions. It's worth your while actually taking a look at it. Lastly, in terms of the journal, I notice from years of experience, and indeed being the parent of two boys who have come through it, a disorganised journal is a reflection of a disorganised student, and disorganised students do not achieve their potential. If you want to have a good look at the journal, you should do so with your son. There's invaluable information in it. There's some excellent resources in it to help your son to actually organise and prepare and get ready for their work. So do take the time to look at it. And it's time to press the kind of the refresh button. Fifth year is a really great year if it's done well in preparation for Leaving Cert. On a general thing, the boys, young men, face a far more complex society than we did at their same age. The reality of readily available drugs, and I'm not talking about in the school, I'm talking about in society. We have a very clear policy in the school. We have a drug testing policy in the school where we do drug tests. It's pastoral intervention initially. However, anybody who would pass or sell on drugs, that's a criminal offence, and they would face expulsion. So we have very clear policies and very clear education in relation to that. But it is a complex society, and they face the choices of that, and they need to realise that there are serious repercussions to their actions. Respect for difference, mental, physical, sexual health, the whole issue of consent. As a society, we have a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol, and I'll mention this later on in relation to parties. There really needs to be a revisit of how parties are perceived during school time. The readily available alcohol at these parties very often results in the fact that it's 3 days lost. The anticipation for the party, the day of the party itself, and then the recovery from the party. And this has crept in as a kind of like a societally accepted norm. And I think we've got to really challenge that and say, no, look, school is a very valuable time. It's short enough as it is, and we really need as little distractions as possible. And also a lot more, while we have programs that talk about sexual health, we have programs that talk about mental health, we have programs that deal with drugs and substance abuse, and also in relation to sexual behaviour and consent and respect for the values of others. Nothing can replace the conversation at home. It may be a difficult conversation, and sometimes it may be not well received, but those conversations are the conversations whereby the student learns from their parents what are the values that are expected, what are the values that they're upholding themselves, because if you don't have values, you'll fall for any old thing in society. There is a culture in social media of being very negative, and we say to students, if they like something that's degrading or horrible, they're just as culpable as the people publishing it. So the consequences of behaviour shouldn't always be about fear or fear of being caught. It should be, how does this make other people feel? And there is a culture of a lack of kindness. And again, those conversations are things that happen in the home. Yes, we can do a lot in school, but we can only support what parents do as the primary educators. Things like anti-bullying, we have extensive systems in terms of surveys, we have prefects, monitors, we have student councils, student leaders. We talk a lot about, particularly in relation to cyberbullying and the lack of protection that people have from that because it's invasive in their own home. Again, these are conversations people need to have in the house. Parents sometimes say, well, I'm aware of such and such a thing, and so-and-so is doing drugs, but I wouldn't want to say it. This is totally unacceptable. If you are aware of behaviour that is endangering a child or indeed other children, you have an obligation to actually prevent that situation. That's either by talking to us, and we handle those situations quite well, or to the parents of the child concerned. We want our students to grow in independence. We want them to become independent so they can manage things. I'd say this as a parent myself, maybe we intervene too much and do too much for them, and I see that sometimes when parents, well-meaning as it is, actually take on the responsibility of what their child should be taking on. We nurture them, we encourage them, and we let them develop, but we have to make them realise that they have to take the initiative. We can provide all these experiences and all these things, but we can't make them do them, and they have to take responsibility for that. And that's something, again, to encourage your student and your child, and to press that refresh button. If they have disengaged, if they haven't been involved, that's quite understandable. We've had 18 months of a really difficult time dealing with a pandemic. So now is the time again to reiterate that engagement, particularly with the co-curricular programme, contributes and supports academic achievement. So, as I said, I'm not preaching about the party scene, but I'm making an observation about it. We as parents sometimes go along, and because our children say to us, well, everybody else is allowing it. I think we have to challenge that. Fifth year is a great year if it starts with work, if the habits are established from the beginning. For example, having a set routine for study and revision and removing the phone. Students kid themselves in terms of it's in my pocket, or well, I'm not looking at it. It's a distraction. The instant that buzzes, it's almost like a Pavlovian reaction. People reach for the phone and they start responding to it. I deal a lot with the students in preparation for applying for universities abroad, for UCAS and for the USA in this personal statement. So if you're thinking of any of those things, fifth year is the year to do the work on it, not in the last couple of weeks or the first couple of weeks in sixth year. Fifth year is the time to do all that research and work on it. But one of the things I notice from chatting to students is they will tell you how much time they waste on social media. And the ones who are really serious about getting their potential realise that, and they remove the distraction when they're working. So again, another conversation to have at home, that if the student is working with a phone sitting in front of them and their social media is on, they're kidding themselves. I said already, I want to congratulate the students on their adaptability. In dealing with the school, teaching in a school with masks and social distancing and all that was incredibly difficult. We adapted as much co-curricular as we could within the restrictions, and please God, as these restrictions ease and are removed, our co-curricular programme and indeed everything else will be back to normal. However, in the meantime, let us not get complacent. We have a duty of care to each other and to vulnerable people in all our families to prevent the spread of infection. So masks, hygiene, social distancing, as much precautions as we can to prevent that spread of infection is something that we really need. Travelling to and from school on public transport, wearing those masks and behaving respectfully is critically important. As I said, students do that and they're very good at it. However, there's no point in all these precautions in the school if at the weekend then caution is thrown to the wind and everybody ignores it and thinks, right, everything is back to normal. It isn't. The numbers are still high. We do need to continue to prevent the spread of infection. So finally, I've come to the end. I've said we want you to have your son, to have you, if you're one of the students, or if you're a parent or guardian, your son, to have a wonderful year. That's cooperation, that's working together and realising what the objective is. The objective is engagement, to discover passions that will live with you for life, things that give you energy, and also to be able to engage with the academic demands of your courses, and that there is no escalator to success in that. You have to take the stairwell, and the stairwell is all to do with hard work, routine, and established routine. So, there's loads of support, there's lots of information. It's an exciting year. As you see, all the staff have been equipped with new Surface Pros. We've put in an awful lot of IT equipment. The new building is going up and hopefully will be on stream early in the new year. It's an exciting time in the college, and I wish the students a wonderful year. We will work with you and we will support you. And you, the parents, thank you for all your support. We'll be working with you over the next 2 years in preparation for what will hopefully be the result that your child has actually worked for. All too soon, you'll be looking at passing out and graduation. It flies by, believe me. I'm a parent of 2 past pupils at this stage, and I can't believe the time went so quickly. So enjoy every second of it, make the most of it. It is a fantastic experience in the college. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Foley. Well, firstly, you're a parent of Poetry 2022, and I hope you and your family are safe and well. As Mr. Henley spoke earlier when he was giving out my details, my name is Tom Doyle. I'm the Link Deputy for Rhetoric and for Poetry. And I suppose what I'm going to try and do is conclude, and I'm going to try and bring together a lot of what Mr. Foley, Mr. Henley and Ms. O'Donoghue from Guidance spoke about. I suppose just in relation to COVID, as you know from last year, and it was no different this summer, a lot of work happened over the summer to make sure that the school that the staff and students were returning to was a safe environment. It's very much a case of trying to cut down on movement and interactions and promote social distancing. So it's very much a case of the base rooms, seating plans, the split lunch. So there's two lunches and 3 year groups per lunch. We have the idea of the breakout spaces. You will have seen pictures in the parent and student newsletter of the sanitation stations at the front of every classroom. You would have seen the tables and chairs the correct distance apart. And the students would have received this induction as well. Every year, every form class received kind of a COVID induction as part of their return to school when they met their form tutors yesterday and on Friday. And in relation to this, they would have looked at the classroom layouts, the signs and symptoms in relation to COVID, where to find the COVID isolation room, classroom etiquette, PPE. So that's been covered, and the boys did really well in relation to it last year, and we expect no different this year. I suppose as a year ahead for 4 years, and as I suppose as a deputy for 2 years, the big experience in relation to our whole college community, it's all about collaboration, it's all about communication, and I suppose what I want to speak a little bit about now is, I suppose, all the resources that are available to parents to reinforce the collaboration between the home and the school. I suppose for parents, the first thing is the parents' handbook. A lot of work goes into this year in, year out, and getting feedback from parents about how to make it better as well. But this handbook, it's been updated at the moment, and it will go out at the beginning of September. But it is available on the college website. It outlines supports for parents in relation, like for instance, a concern in a subject, how to contact the subject teacher, general concerns, form tutor, or the head of year. It's a really valuable resource, and I encourage parents to look over it as the boys return back to school. We also have the staff and student newsletter, and the parent and student newsletter, which goes out every 2 weeks. There's a very active student working group that work hand in hand with the link teachers, and it's fantastic in relation to keeping up to date with co-curricular and what's happening in the college. Also, it's also used by the Past Pupils Union and the Parents Association as well. The student journal, that's something year in, year out we build on, and the staff and students work really well together in reviewing what's working and what additional resources to put in there to aid the students and to aid their experience of the college. And I'd encourage parents to look over this. I want to talk in detail about some of the different parts of the journal that the boys would have received last week. So obviously in relation to the journal, you'll find at the beginning, you'll find information, a page on COVID advice. You'll find several pages on the principal dates in relation to parent-teacher meetings, etc. You'll find at the beginning a page, I think it's page 7 or page 8. It's a very straightforward page. It allows the boys to map out their own individual support structure or network here in the college, whether it's their form tutor, their co-curricular, coaches, their chaplain, their link guidance counsellor, etc. So please take time to review this page with your son. I suppose in relation to the form tutors will have met the boys. We also have the year heads, as I said, with chaplains, with the student support team. So there's a huge amount of people who play a very large role in the day-to-day lives of the boys in the college. So please be aware of this support system and all the contact emails for these teachers and coaches, etc. In terms of communication and submission of work, during the lockdown, obviously we would have moved online. And as we're starting to come out of this period, and in relation to our return to school, we are using Teams. The boys are using Teams. The boys are using OneNote. So a lot of helpful advice has been put there for the boys and for parents in relation to communication and submission of work, the help desk information as well. In relation to health and safety, it is important that the boys know where to go and what to do in the case of an evacuation or a fire emergency, and there are key pages that they're expected to fill in, and we'd ask parents to review this with the boys as well. That's pages 16 and 17. In relation, we're coming up to the 500th anniversary of the founding of the Jesuits, and we recently updated our vision, mission and values. We also have the 10 global identifiers of Jesuit schools, so what Jesuit schools all over the world try and work towards, and they're also in the journal. So in relation to 5th year students, we will have triple religion, and I know Mr. Henley would have mentioned it. I know it was mentioned at the Rhetoric Parents Talk. This is an invaluable part of the Belvedere curriculum. So triple religion and the faith and service programs. So the boys are not allowed to opt out of this. They're expected to take part, and it really enriches their time here in the college. Mr. Henley would have mentioned the code of behaviour. He would have mentioned the anti-bullying policies. And look, it comes down to respect and making sure that the boys feel safe. And so please take time to look through this as well with your son. And there is a page you have to sign, it's page 37. And these policies are updated every year as well. The student council would review them, staff working groups would review them as well. And they're available for parents also on the website. Student leadership, hugely important this year for the first time as part of our return to school. The Rhetoric officers and prefects would have led workshops for staff in relation to student leadership. This starts back in first year with the elements induction, the whole way up to the Rhetoric prefects. I think parents and students would get a sense of how strong student leadership is in the college. Just even last May, the Student Council published a document in the newsletter outlining all of their actions over the course of the previous year, the last academic year, and you'll get a sense of all the different areas that the Student Council and through them obviously the year councils and the class captains have been involved in, whether it's linking it with school on COVID, canteen, support for new clubs, reviewing and providing feedback on the journal, on school policies, a huge number of areas. So here in the college, the views of students are valued, and you'll see from many of the extension clubs, and also even in relation to co-curricular, the rugby programme for instance, student leadership is very much a part of everything that happens. So there are so many ways for boys to get involved and to make the school and the college a better place. I've said there, whether it's class captains, and the elections are happening this week, obviously then that'll be used to fill the year councils. We have the rhetoric prefects, we have the green schools, we have the VDP and all the different social justice programmes, lunchtime clubs, co-curricular. We want the boys to get involved, we want the boys to make a difference. And in relation to the Belvedere experience, it will really complement like everything that's happening in the classroom, and it'll allow them to make the most of all the different opportunities that they're offered here in the college. In relation to literacy and numeracy, there's something that's gone into the journal this year, and I know the boys will get a lot out of it, and as parents I'd ask you to have a look at it as well. It's a literacy and numeracy map. There's 2 pages gone in. It was reviewed by the student council, and there's a staff working group on literacy and numeracy. I gave us tips on constructing paragraphs, on grammar, on punctuation, and it'll be a real aid there for the boys across all subjects. As you know, we've gone to a 2-week timetable, and I suppose the benefits of the 2-week timetable is, I suppose in terms of the college, at senior cycle, we have a very wide curriculum, and it means that we can facilitate that large number of subjects. This is at the back of the journal, and one thing that was brought to the attention of the boys by their form tutors and their year heads, just in the template that the boys have to fill in at the back of the journal, I think it's periods 4, 5 and 6, there's an error. They've all been told it's just 5 minutes in the difference, and they just have to remedy that in their journal. Mr. Henley would have mentioned academic tracking, and Ms. O'Donoghue would have mentioned this as well. So this week, I know today myself with my own rhetoric geography class, this is when you give out the house exam papers. So they're going to be given out this week. And in the journal, I think there's 3 set times over the course of the year where this is organised, where the boys have extended form tutor periods, and allows them to target set and review their grades in every subject. So this is going to be happening this coming week. So it's hugely important section, and one of the things about this section is this is something that's been in the journal for maybe close to 10 years, but year in, year out, we go back to the students, slight changes and amendments are made, and this really ties in with what the boys want in relation to target setting and reviewing their work, and linking in with the guidance department as well. So as the boys are doing this, I'd also ask you just to check in with your son this week, and even ask to see those pages, just to see how he's outlined his grades in every subject, and the different targets in relation to whether it's specific topics or maybe a revision, etc., what he needs to do to improve his grade, and then also where are the avenues he needs to go maybe to get further help, whether it's checking in with the subject teacher, whether it's checking in with guidance, whether it's checking in with the year head. So just to conclude, and to re-emphasise the importance of the handbook, of the journal, of the parent and student newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks, I can't emphasise enough the importance of the support structures, and even that page, I think it is page 7 in the journal, being aware of all the different teachers and coaches and people who interact daily and weekly with your son, and who play a huge role in his journey, in his 6-year journey here in the college. And like last year, there have been many changes, I suppose, to school life, and hopefully we're starting to emerge and return to normality, as was the case in 2018, 2019, and at the beginning of the 2019-2020 academic year. But our ethos hasn't changed. Excellence in all things and care for the person remains at the heart of everything we try to do here in the college. And that means, having been present at the induction for the elements and the induction for the rhetoric students, this is the case, and this was clearly said. It means that every member of our college community, they need to take responsibility for contributing to making the best of every opportunity offered. It also means, and it requires, that we all share in the responsibility to make the school a safe, happy place where each and every one is nurtured to excel and discover their gifts. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this recording, and best wishes for the coming year as you start your journey in the senior cycle. Thank you.